Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning on a Wednesday. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam, Ronis with you right here. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Excited to have you all. We've got a great show planned out. A few pieces of news. Adam, good morning. How you doing? How's it going?
Doing well here. Just
Huh?
trying to navigate all the injuries in the NFL already. We're
Yeah,
not even hit August, and we're just hoping to have these guys ready by week one. We're hoping
they
things are
will
not
be.
serious. Yeah, I know you're.
They're not. They're
Yeah,
not. I'm
yeah.
just going to be the optimistic one. Then you'll say, be careful, don't draft him. I'll say, yeah, don't draft him.
And
It's
then
fine.
when he misses more time, you'd be like, "Oh, you were right."
I didn't see that. Were there that many
No, I'm just
yesterday?
saying, like,
Oh,
if it
okay.
happens for
I
any
was like,
player.
wait. I was gonna say the first segment isn't as packed as I thought it was then because I didn't see. I mean, I guess I saw Isaiah Likely, but they're thinking that he's going to be. They say Adam he's going to be back and ready for week one, but he has a small foot fracture. I'm sure that's not who you're referring to though, because we don't
Referring to
draft.
everyone.
All right, all right. I just wanted to make sure. We've got news that we can go through though. And yeah, and the trade deadline for baseball tomorrow. Will
Yeah.
that dictate your mood for the show? We'll see. Oh no,
No,
it's
it'll be
later,
after
so
the
it
show.
won't.
So
All right, so
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah. If they don't get your guys, you're gonna be a little you might not show up.
that's true. Yeah. So be
Okay.
prepared.
Be prepared to be with that. I'll say sorry, Adam's team, the Mets didn't get his guys. Who do you want them to get?
They're
We can
probably
put
not going to get
we can
any.
put them out in the
I
universe.
don't think they're going to get like a big player. They're talking mostly bullpen. It would be nice if they could get a center fielder. Probably not going to happen. So but they definitely need to upgrade the pitching,
Mm,
specifically the bullpen. They've just been going into the bullpen way too early frequently.
mm.
And so a center fielder would be nice, but I don't
Okay.
think it's going to be like a big center fielder. Maybe they'll surprise, make a splash, you get a big time pitcher.
Oh, could be fun. The Mariners, I
And
just want them to do anything. I'm good. I'm showing up no matter what because they always break my heart anyway.
so you're already
You know who
pessimistic for
I
the
want.
stretch run.
No, you know who I want.
Suarez?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll happen, but could be fun. I'm gonna manifest. I'm gonna put it out in the universe today, and
They're
hopefully
four
it
games out
happens.
of first place, so you got a
I
shot.
know.
That's all you can ask
Listen,
for this
this is
time
the
of year.
same conversation I have every single time at this year, Adam. I can't get excited about it until it's, late September and then we can talk and figure it out. But all right, enough baseball. We'll get into some of the news here. We'll get to Isaiah Likely, not obviously not someone that we're necessarily targeting in drafts, but I will say saw that Zack Moss was released just this morning, just a few minutes ago from the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, another guy that we weren't necessarily going after in drafts at him. But I do think, when you look at him, he was trying to come back from that neck injury that he sustained last season. That's what opened up the door really for Chase Brown to have the season that he did. So he played in 8 games with 6 starts for Cincinnati last season, 74 rush attempts, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns last season. Again, this doesn't change what we probably already thought going into the season. It is Chase Brown's season yet again. But depth chart wise, it's Samaje Perine and it's Taj Brooks, who you and I have talked about on this show before. He's one of my favorite late targets to go for in drafts. I wouldn't even say target. I just put flyers on him because I've always looked at this depth chart even before they released Zack Moss and said there is a chance to really climb because I'm not necessarily scared of Zack Moss. We kind of know the role that Samaje Perine could play. But yeah, this is again Chase Brown's backfield and it's his world and we're just living in it. But Zack Moss was released, so that does help him out a little bit more even.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone realized anyway that Chase Brown is the guy in this
Exactly.
backfield. I mean, throughout the offseason, there was probably trepidation leading up to the draft. Would they bring someone in? Would he be able to maintain that RB1 role? But clearly, it's going to be him. And as good a season as he had, he wasn't even playing a lot of snaps over the first 5 weeks. He was averaging 30% of the snaps the first 5 weeks. And then from week 4 on, he's one of the top running backs, 14th in PPR points per game. So an RB4, weeks
Yep.
9 through 18. So, and he was playing almost all the snaps, 86% of the snaps from week 9 on. And that
It
was
was
the thing.
insane.
Yeah, you were like, is this something he's going to be able to sustain? Because the efficiency wasn't great for him, but he just got massive volume. And in this offense, which we again expect to be high powered and they're going to have to put up points because of their defense, it just presents so many opportunities for Chase Brown. So 65 targets last year, 54
Yep.
catches, so 11 total touchdowns. So you're feeling good about Chase Brown.
Yeah, you're feeling amazing. He's like you said, it was something we loved Chase Brown last season, and it was a waiting game with Chase Brown though. You had to wait, like you said, until after week 8, and that was the Zack Moss. I mean, it was sideline. I'm curious. You always think back and think, okay, what if he wasn't injured, and would we have had to deal with that the whole rest of the season? Kind of that committee, but weeks 1 through 8 before the Zack Moss injury that sidelined him for the rest of the season, he worked as the RB 33 in PPR points per game, 39% snap rate, so it wasn't good. And then all of a sudden, you look around and you say, "All right, here's the 86% percent taking 86% of the offensive snaps, average 20.9 PPR points per game, which was the fourth highest mark among all running backs." And it was a good day. It was a good season to draft Chase Brown. I'm going to be doing the same thing this year, Adam. I mean, he's one of just 5 running backs for us at Fantasy Life projected for 200 plus carries, 50 plus targets for this upcoming season. So that puts him in company with Bucky Irving's, Ashton Genty's, Bijan Robinson's. So the outlook, I guess, I haven't taken much Samaje Perine because just in that range, I'm just not going for it. I guess we could talk ourselves into maybe he does kind of have some sort of role that maybe we want to pay attention to, but I'm not doing it. I'd rather just take Taj Brooks and then the most Chase Brown. I don't really want to mess with someone in the middle that we're thinking is not going to be a committee at all.
Yeah, it's probably Taj Brooks at this point, but Chase Brown is going to cost you. Generally, though, I've seen third round typically. Sometimes I see him go late second round, but that's around the area where you need to get him.
Yeah, I'm paying the price. I just don't. I just feel like we're not. Yeah, we're just looking at, like I said, 200 plus carries, 50 plus targets that we're projecting him for. In an offense too that we talked about this over the offseason that didn't really get much better on the defensive side of the ball. So they're going to have to continue scoring the way that they have, Adam, and being in those games where they're scoring 30 plus points and they're still having to put Joe Burrow out there in fourth quarters. So it's good for Chase Brown. Obviously, we'll see if Zach Moss lands anywhere. I don't think we're ever going to talk about him, though, in a landing spot that we say, oh, now we have to go and draft him. But Zach Moss was released. So that was one of the bigger pieces of news here, happened just a few minutes ago. Isaiah Likely, I'll just mention that he has a fractured foot. The chances that he could play week 1 are high, is what the team said. According to, the team, they said if all goes well in Likely's recovery, he is expected to return early in the season. Likely could be back for the Ravens September 7th, their opener against the Bills. Again, Adam, someone we weren't targeting as our tight end 1, but we have had conversations about him, as a tight end 2 guy. If you need a second one, looking at him because there is obviously a path for him to have success for fantasy football if Mark Andrews were to get injured. But it's really the injury thing. We've talked about him not really having this, single role for fantasy football production.
Yeah, I think people who were using him last year when Andrews was active were like, well, I don't really have anything at tight end. I'm going to put him in and hope he can score a touchdown. We know that the Ravens do like him. There's been talk
Yeah.
of increasing his role. But I will say this. Look at what they're saying. It's possible if all goes well. I mean, so I wouldn't count on him week 1 at this point. And we don't even have the specific details either of exactly what type of injury it is. So
Small
just,
fracture in his foot
yeah.
is what we know.
So
Like,
just
is
be
yeah.
prepared if you were already drafting him and looking at him that, it could be more than the first week. It could be longer.
All right, so you're moving him down the rankings a bit. Not a bit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I
You're
mean,
going for there's other tight end 2s that you would target now in that range besides Isaiah Likely.
yeah, I haven't been drafting him anyway.
Yeah, fair. It's a nice way to put it. Like, yeah, actually I don't like
I
him at
mean,
all.
look,
So,
he's a really good player. We all know that, but Mark Andrews is still there, and then
yeah.
you have other players, and again, it's an offense that's just going to be run heavy.
Yeah, it was going to be tough for him to have fantasy value this season, unless, like I said, an injury, which does happen. But guys going in his range, your guy, that's what I'm going to call him now, Kyle Pitts, because you have said that
Don't
you're.
do that. Don't
What?
do that.
I don't know. I
I'm
think
just
we're very
making
close
I'm
to.
just making a case for him because you are so against him. He could be like tight end 28. You're like, nope, not taking Kyle Pitts. Not
I'll
getting burned
name
again.
3 guys I like more than him at tight end 28, but not Adam's guy yet, but soon to be.
No, I
Kyle
don't
Pitts
even
is in
think I've
that range.
drafted him once. I
Wow,
don't
you're
think I have.
defending him like you've drafted him a lot.
No, because
I
look,
know.
someone has
I'm
to speak up on
kidding.
the other side because so many people just trash Kyle Pitts and hate him, and I understand it. but the price right now, especially if Darnell Mooney is going to miss extended period of time, that could open things up for him.
Yeah, he goes in the I don't even 13th round. But again, okay, so Kyle Pitts is in that range, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goddard, Dalton Kincaid. And again, just be careful. Isaiah Likely, look, they suspect that he's going to be good for week 1, but we'll just have to wait and see. We always believe them, Adam. We always believe coaches, we always believe players when they tell
Yeah,
us
they never
everything.
lie. They all tell the truth, and whatever they say, believe it. Just kidding.
That's why we're good together because I'll always be the optimistic one and you'll say, hang on, wait a second. Don't believe everything that they say. And it's fantastic. So, next piece of news here again Isaiah Likely missing a few weeks. Zack Moss was released from the Cincinnati Bengals. Michael Pittman Jr. dealing with a groin injury. Looks like he should be okay. I just wanted to mention this one because of the injury history with Michael Pittman Jr. And I do think it opens up a bigger conversation of what our expectations could be for the Colts. I know we've talked a lot about, it matters who's going to win this quarterback competition, obviously, because there could be things that we look at with Anthony Richardson that we don't necessarily like with Daniel Jones and vice versa. So when we're looking at this wide receiver group, Adam, with this, injury aside, I saw this morning that they said he's going to be good to go, but he was carted off the feet, or no, that was Jalen Jones. Sorry. But he, again, dealing with a groin injury for Michael Pittman. When we look at Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, AD Mitchell, is there anyone that you're more leaning towards taking in drafts this season or not necessarily?
Yeah, it's Josh Downs. I really like him a lot. Now, if Anthony Richardson is the quarterback, somewhat of a concern, but it also means that I guess he played well enough to win the job because that's what you're hearing now, that he's played better than Jones, that Jones
Yeah.
hasn't stepped up and seized the opportunity to take over. And, they're saying that they think Anthony Richardson eventually is going to be the guy. So, we'll see. I mean, he has to continue that play because we've just seen the inconsistency. He can go out there the next few days and just be inaccurate, throw interceptions. From a Colts standpoint, though, it makes sense to just let Richardson be the
It
guy.
does. Yes.
I know.
I think that's what they want too, because as an organization, you can't just like Daniel Jones winning that job is just it feels like overall failure from the top down. So it feels like they would want him to win that job in my opinion.
Yeah, and
But
even the GM Chris Ballard said that he was rushed into playing as a rookie,
yeah.
so that he didn't have the experience to know how to be a professional from preparation or playing standpoint. So, I mean, and we've been saying that, and he came out of school just not much experience. So if you're going to draft him that high, you got to give him an opportunity to be the guy. And yes, it has not looked good most of the time. That completion percentage under
Oh,
50%. So I think most people were thinking it would be Daniel Jones, which would be better for some of the skill position players. But I still like Josh Downs. I'll still take him. And, if Richardson wins the job, that means you hope that maybe he's shown some growth and played well. And I guess we'll find out early in the season if he does indeed win the job.
yeah, this is definitely one where I've just been taking this is best ball too, so obviously it's different because they're taking your best scores from the week. So when we get back, redraft, when we have those conversations, it's going to be different when we're saying how, late round flyers on Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. But I'm with you on Josh Downs. He's had the ankle, the toe, the shoulder injuries, and still he was the Colts top receiver, PPR points per game last season, 13.1, wide receiver 29 finish over there. So I think he does have special skills. I haven't taken much Michael Pittman. I didn't take much of him last season either. I wasn't necessarily intrigued with the injuries and everything else and just the overall, I think, state of the offense. But this season where both of them are going and with the projections too. I mean, Josh Downs is still projected for 104 targets, 111 for Michael Pittman, which both come out to 72 and a half receptions, 70 receptions for Josh Downs. So yeah, and where's he going off the board? Do you know right away?
Downs?
Yeah, seventh
Like,
round.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
that's underdog though, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
underdog. So I'll look at the
he's
ADP
probably
tool.
going to go a little lower in other leagues.
Yeah, he should. But yeah, just an offense. So If we get word that Anthony Richardson, let's say it's in a week, let's play a game here, and we get word that it's really looking like Anthony Richardson is going to win this job, does that mean you are drafting less of these receivers? Or are you taking the chance and saying, okay, if he's going to get this starting job, we know what he brings on the ground. Obviously, he's going to be a target for us in fantasy football, because his price is obviously going to be a lot cheaper because this was a quarterback competition to start. But do you look at these receivers, Downs, Pittman, even Alec Pierce, AD Mitchell, and say, I'm going to start taking less of them?
It would just be Downs, and that's generally what I've done at this point. And then remember, because you got Tyler War in there too, so you would think he
Yeah.
would be heavily involved since they spent such an early pick, and maybe that helps a little bit as well. But yeah, I think you would have to scale back if you were in. I can't imagine many people were all in on the Colts wide receivers anyway.
I don't think so. But still, you got to ask.
Yeah, and maybe Richardson improves. It's possible. I mean, we want to see it first. We saw glimpses, but then we saw a lot of inaccuracy, a lot of missed throws.
But on the ground, we can look at him for
Yeah,
fantasy. He's just one of those quarterbacks where, real life NFL conversations is like, I can't believe, they're not in really on Anthony Richardson. But for us, it's almost been like the same with Justin Fields. It's like, well, what he brings with us on the ground, that rushing upside is why we always continue to talk about him. So, yeah, but through the air, it's not. But he's just, I feel like he's never going to be this prolific passer, but you just want to get enough out of him, right? Where he is at least sustaining one good wide receiver in fantasy or tight end, like you said. We're going to talk about Tyler Warren here in a little bit, but it feels like it could be done. I don't think we would be, we might be shocked, huh?
yeah.
He's
I
good.
look in a super flex league, you can get him now as your third quarterback. I would take the chance there.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. I will say though, Josh Downs on any other platform besides Underdog, very cheap.
Yeah.
160 on
What?
ESPN. Yeah.
160?
I'm thinking that maybe there's not as many drafts as other play, but Michael Pittman's going 124. Actually, in all, no. So 160 on ESPN for Josh Downs, 103 on Sleeper, 124 on Yahoo, 141 on CBS,
Yeah.
which is
See,
where we're playing.
yeah, I'll take him in on those platforms every time, especially at those prices. That's insane.
Yeah, it's cheap. Well, they just don't. They,
Well, I guess
they don't want a piece of the
the Colts
offense.
quarterback is real. They're
Yeah,
all
I was gonna
scared.
say, of course. Even I was gonna say maybe they're drafting a little bit more Tyler Warren, but he's going to pick 133 on ESPN, 101 on Sleeper, 121 on Yahoo. They just don't want it. No one wants a piece of this offense,
Yeah, they are very fearful after what they saw the last
which
couple
is
of
fair.
years.
Which is fair. I will say.
No, it is. We saw it last year. It was tough to start any of those guys on a given
Yeah.
week.
We'll keep an eye on it. But like you said, I mean, Anthony Richardson is looking somewhat good to start this. Michael Pittman Jr. again dealing with a groin issue. It shouldn't be, that's what they said, too big of a deal, but we'll keep an eye on that. And then last one here that I just wanted to mention since we're talking through the news. Not good news. Jim Harbaugh said that there is, quote, still no timeline for Najee Harris to return to practice. At what point, Adam, do you get on? Are you in a draft and you see Najee Harris falling and falling and falling? At what round would you say, okay, I'm going to stop the fall here? If he is able to come back, or if he, misses the first 4 games of the season, at least he'll be able to return at some point. What round would that be? Or it could just be no. It could just be that you're not wanting to draft him at all.
Round 32.
Stop, really? You're just full. You're fully out.
We don't know anything. Like, this is so bizarre. We have no idea what's going on. None.
It's an eye injury.
Okay, but what kind of eye injury? Like,
I
what's
don't
the
know.
details? I mean,
I'm not a
no timetable to return.
doctor.
I don't know.
Okay, so waiver
And
wire.
it's a new offense too. And
That's the bigger, yeah. He's not there at training camp, which again, I know that we've talked about veterans before going to new teams, but you still have to learn the offense and just start getting that chemistry with your teammates. I'm with you.
yeah. I mean, look, they said he's been on the field during practices, but not participating in any drills. So yeah, this is just crazy. So hey, there are people that got Omarion Hampton cheap like
Yeah.
2 months ago, a month ago, they're feeling really good because that price is rising. Like, I've seen him go in the third round now of drafts.
And I understand that completely.
Yeah.
Like if you take Omarion Hampton in the third round and you excuse me, call us and tell us, I'll be like, that makes sense. He's regularly going in the third round right now on Underdog towards the end, but he's actually jumped Kyron Williams. So it's Chase Brown, Brees Hall, Omarion Hampton, Kyron Williams in the third round.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot, and I can understand it. Again, they drafted him early, and the concern was okay, maybe slowly mixed into the offense because you have a veteran like Najee Harris. Because we talked about Harris, like he doesn't miss a game, he's not explosive, but he does everything that the coaches want. So
Yeah.
he would definitely get his time on the field. But I know it's still end of July. We're about to get into August on Friday, but there's just been no details. All they keep saying is, "Oh, he's getting better every day." Okay, I mean, yeah,
And no timeline.
yeah. So I don't know. I have not taken him, so I would probably, I guess, if we got into like round what 12, maybe you'd take the
I
shot.
bet it would be. Oh, he's already going at the end of the 11th.
Oh, he's falling that far. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd
I would
probably.
say
It would have to be a couple
13th.
rounds past ADP.
Yeah. Maybe that would put him maybe more along the 13th round than anything else. But no, it's not good news. And yeah, if you had Omarion Hampton early, honestly, if you're drafting Omarion Hampton now, it just feels like, yeah, that's going to be obviously his backfield. I was drafting Najee Harris like a month ago because I said, all right, if I want a cheaper option in this backfield, feel like Omarion Hampton wasn't going to take over everything early, because we know how this offense wants to work. And so Najee Harris has always been a durable guy. He's always gotten those 1,000-yard seasons, and he's not missed a game. And so maybe that's why. Maybe it's because we always said that, Adam. Maybe it's because I said that every show. I said he's never missed a game, and now look at what's happening. But that's why those were part of the reasons why I was still drafting him. This was obviously before this injury, and now that's come to a screeching halt. Not doing it anymore, but we'll keep tabs on him. I was gonna make your joke, but I'm nice.
It
It's just
was. I
it
wasn't
just
making
it
a
doesn't
joke.
I know it just happens because we always
Yeah.
say we're gonna watch out for things. So Najee Harris, sorry about that. All right, we're going through wide receiver twos and who we should be talking about just a little bit more. We always talk about the alpha wide receiver ones, but I want to mention Jayden Higgins here, Trey Harris, expectations for some of these other guys and what we think is going to happen in 2025. We're going to do that here coming up next. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us right here. This is Fantasy Life. Kendall Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you at KValenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there on X, on Twitter. If you've got any questions for us today and just can't get through on the phone lines or you just don't have time, make sure to send us those questions over there and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Same with the phone calls. 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in, or you can press that new call in button on the Sirius XM app. And as always, fantasylife.com. That's where you can go and check out all of the great tools and upgrades that we have on the website. Our rankings are updated every day. Same with just projections. You're looking at ADP. That ADP tool is something that Adam and I use for the whole entire show. The whole 2 hours, we always have that up. Draft Champion is there. You've got the utilization suite as well. So use that code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription when you're looking over at fantasylife.com. So head on over there. Wanted to talk through some wide receiver twos, Adam, and maybe some guys that, we're always talking about the alphas on these teams and what our expectations are. But let's start over since we were already talking about Najee Harris, Omarion Hampton. Let's go over to the Chargers. We have talked about Ladd McConkey. He's an expensive pick for a reason this season. But Trey Harris, I want to know your expectations or just your overall thoughts on Trey Harris right now, and what you think he could do in this offense because, he was their second round pick, had 1,030 yards in just 8 games during his final season at Ole Miss. So we know what he brought to college. And it feels like this was, in terms of landing spots, it's not really luck, but running really pure for Trey Harris, where now Mike Williams decided to retire. You're obviously battling it out with Quentin Johnston, but it feels like he's in a really good spot to get starter reps very early as a rookie.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot comes down to what happens with this Chargers offense because they actually did pass more as the season went along. So if that does occur, that'll be good for Harris. So yeah, he's definitely on my radar, especially you're going to be getting him as a wide receiver 5. And in a lot of situations, you're not going to need to start him right away. So you can just have him on the bench and see what the role is, see if he's heavily involved in the offense. And if they do pass more than expected, and he could work his way into your lineup. As we see with a lot of rookie receivers outside of the elite guys, sometimes it takes some time, and you want to have those guys on your bench in case they grow into a big role.
Yeah, I think it's a good point about just what kind of offense this team will look like this team will have this season because the Chargers didn't really have the running backs to run, the kind of Greg Roman offense that we've seen before effectively last season. So now with the Najee Harris injury, obviously something that we're just going to watch out for, but Omarion Hampton is going to step into a big role. But yeah, you should expect at least for Trey Harris, he should be a starter in those three wide receiver sets from day one. Because we're looking at this player. He ranked first and ninth in yards per route run over the last two seasons in college. So we know what or maybe the expectations, the talent that they've seen with him. So we're just going to have to see one, the connection with Justin Herbert and hoping that they are, yeah, just passing a little bit more. Because I remember that week that it switched and it was just every single week after that, it was something that we just talked about. But they didn't have really the running backs to maybe run what they wanted last season. They might have it with Amari and Hampton now.
Yeah, I mean they could. They were also eighth in neutral passing rate from week 7 to 18, and I think if you
Yeah.
ask most people, you wouldn't have thought that because you think Chargers just want to run the football. So if they do open it up a little bit, then that could benefit Trey Harris.
Especially he was one of the best deep ball threats in college, and we know that Justin Herbert is not only an accurate quarterback, but that includes his deep passes. So he's someone that I've been taking, not necessarily a target because of his, he's going in the ninth round. So in that ninth round, I'm usually taking another running back. Maybe I'm looking at, but it's Rashid Shaheed, Trey Harris, Keon Coleman. If we're talking about wide receivers, and then I'm taking a lot of Justin Fields in this range as well. That's on Underdog. Obviously, going to be different with other platforms.
Yeah, for
Should be
sure.
exciting.
Because the receivers get way pushed up, as we say on Underdog all the time. So
Yeah.
in your redraft leagues, you'll get Harris at a way cheaper price.
Where is he?
Yeah, I'm looking.
161.
Yeah,
161 on
on
ESPN.
ESPN, 129 on Sleeper.
129.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the
131. Like,
what that
yeah.
like that's kind of easy click. Obviously, depending what else is on the board, but those are way more affordable prices compared to Underdog, where it's 103, where you're
And like
paying
you
the wide receiver tax.
And like you said, I mean, he really is going to be someone that produces right away. Now, what kind of production? We always talk about these rookies and being as patient as you can, because usually midway through the season they look a lot better. They're a lot more comfortable. They know their team a little bit more. So we've seen it before where these guys really start to show off halfway through towards the end, going into the fantasy playoffs. So if you get him at that price, when you're looking at the ADP tool and you're looking around and saying, okay, I definitely want to take Trey Harris with pick 161 overall on ESPN. You're not even going to have to, like you said, Adam, start him at the beginning. Like you'll still have really good value from other guys, and then hopefully, it just all comes together for Trey Harris, and he's helping you, win matchups week in and week out. I like
Yeah,
it.
those prices are insane. Like it's an easy click. That's why it's important to look at the platform.
Yeah, and again, that ADP tool that we're looking at, it's live at fantasylife.com. So it's under the drop down. You go to fantasy, you go to tools, you go to ADP. You can do the list view, you can do the draft board view. But it is a really really awesome tool to use and just see. We always say that Underdog pushes those wide receivers up, and it is very obvious that they do that here when we're talking about Trey Harris, Jayden Higgins. Expectations for Jayden Higgins and what we think the Texans can do. Obviously, we're looking at Tank Dell. He is likely to miss, I would say, all of the 2025 season, Adam, if not most of it. Stephon Diggs played at a high level last season before his injury. They did go ahead and add Christian Kirk via a trade. They have Justin Watson in free agency, Braxton Berrios. Those are not guys we're necessarily sitting around and saying, well, they're going to affect how Jayden Higgins plays. And then they drafted Jalen Knoll as well. So, what are your expectations for him? Do you think he is going to be, part of this offense day one, or are you kind of off on him?
No, I'm in. I think he is going to be a big part of the offense. He was the fifth receiver off the board. They spend a second round pick on him, 6'4", 215. And the way it's shaping up with that backfield, like I think the Texans are going to be pass heavy. We know Joe Mixon dealing with
Yeah.
this foot issue, Nick Chubb. The reports haven't been great on him, which is not surprising. So when you look at that backfield, they just might be a team that passes a bit more, rely on CJ Stroud with the hopes that he can bounce back to what we saw in his rookie season, assuming the offensive line could hold up. But yeah, I think Higgins is in a good spot that's going to get an opportunity here. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have Nico Collins, but I think you'll see Higgins starting likely with Christian Kirk in the slot.
Yeah, that's what I've seen, comps to Tim Patrick. I've seen other comps, honestly, too, for Higgins to Nico Collins. Because like you said, 6'4", 217. So they had a clear need for more receivers when we talk about Diggs leaving, Tank Dell probably not going to be able to come back. So the chances are, like you said, Collins and Higgins will be the outside receivers, Christian Kirk, maybe Jalen Knoll in the slot. Christian Kirk has been one where I've had a really hard time at him pressing draft. And I think I just need to push aside recency bias and just look at this offense and say, how realistic is it for Jalen Knoll to beat him out in the depth chart and just on the field? I just need to look at it and say, you know what? Maybe Christian Kirk has this bigger role this season and he outperforms his ADP. Not that he's necessarily cheap, but he's going in the 11th round. He's going pick 124 on underdog. What are your feelings on Kirk?
Yeah, I think, he's that veteran guy. He's good in short space, and especially if
Yeah.
CJ Stroud's trying to get the ball out quickly, he could be looking for Kirk on those quick hitters. So, yeah, I mean, originally I felt better, and then they went out and drafted Higgins Noel, but I still think, Kirk can be solid in this offense. And again, as you mentioned, he is cheap, like, because no one
He
wants him, right?
is. Now,
People like the shiny new toy, these new young receivers, but it could take some time. So, considering Kirk's price, yeah, I actually am more open to him. The more I've kind of done drafts and see where he goes, like he's not going to be a huge difference maker for you, but he is undervalued.
yeah, I think, for fantasy, and I'll just say myself as a whole, there is a history of overvaluing rookies. We've
Yeah.
talked about this before and pushing them up because, like you said, shiny new toy, you just think, well, look at the draft capital. They took them for a reason. They have to have this huge role. So when we talk about overvaluing these rookies, I'm trying to look inwards at them and say to myself, okay, am I doing this right now? Not necessarily with Jayden Higgins, because like we just said, we do expect a role for him out there. I mean, he's big, he's going to be on the outside. I think it's very clear for that. But with a guy like Christian Kirk, where you say, okay, well, they drafted Jalen Knoll. Maybe it is a mistake to say that Jalen Knoll is just going to come in there and jump Christian Kirk on the depth chart because they traded for Kirk early in the offseason. The coaching staff has said that Kirk is going to be the full-time starter opposite of Nico Collins. So whether we, take that with a grain of salt or whatever, it is difficult to not overvalue rookies. And so I'm looking at Christian Kirk saying maybe just a few flyers. Like you said, he's not expensive, but for as much as I definitely have taken Jalen Knoll, I think I need to make sure on the other side, if that doesn't work out, then that means Christian Kirk is in the slot. And, not necessarily a difference maker, but at pick 170, you're not spending that much on him.
No, not at all. And again, one of those guys, like if you have some injuries early in the season, you could just plug him in to give you a decent floor. We're not expecting
Yeah.
20 points from him, but, in a PPR format, he can get you 10 in a given week.
Not league winning upside in my opinion, but like you just said, someone that could play a good role in obviously a looks like it's going to be just this high volume passing offense that can be a reliable vet. That's what we're looking at here. So again, some of those guys we're going to keep talking about these wide receiver twos if we should talk about them more, what our expectations are going to be for them moving forward into the 2025 season. But we're going to continue on going value picks by round. Some of our favorite values, depending on if it's round 7, round 10. We're going to give you those names here coming up next. Dominate your leagues with us right here, Fantasy Life. Kendall Valenzuela, Adam Ronis. Dominate your leagues with fantasylife.com. All of the tools that you need to win and continue winning in the season they're all right there. Fantasylife.com. Use that code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription. Let's continue on here, Adam. We're talking through just value picks by round. Let me throw something at you really quickly though, since we're going to be talking about a couple running backs here. Do you think I've seen this question floating around the last couple of days? Do you think the Texans starting running back is on the team yet? Do you think they go and get someone else? I just
Mm.
if it's that bad with Mixon, and not to say that there are any really great names floating around for them to go and get. I just with what we've seen from Nick Chubb, unless they're seeing things that we aren't, and he's really looking a lot better coming off the foot injury and the gruesome injury that he had a couple of years ago. I just wanted to bring that one up because if we're talking value picks by round, there could be value of someone that's not even signed yet, but we don't know.
It's certainly possible at this point because it is pretty thin for them right now in that backfield,
It's not
and
good.
especially if Mixon's return lasts longer than expected, then yeah, they have some issues right now.
Yeah, it's obviously there's nothing there's nothing that we can do about it right now. But I was, thinking about that, seeing the question go around of like, okay, you've got Joe Mixon, who they're hopeful that he's good to go for week one. You've got Nick Chubb, you've got Damian Pierce, who I see has, a questionable or, a sign next to his name. And then you have maybe it's just Woody Marks. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe we need more Woody. I mean, obviously a rookie running back here, but if we're talking about some of the receiving work, maybe that's just the answer.
I think it is. I think they're going to go pass heavy and not rely on the run. So I think you're looking at the pass catchers getting an upgrade.
17th round on Underdog. He's going to be way cheaper everyone else. I think I actually have it right here. No, I don't. Yeah. So yeah, just to throw that out there. Probably going undrafted right now.
You're talking
Just a
about
thought.
who
Woody
Woody
Marks.
Marks? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you'll see
On
him
some
move up
other
a
on
little
other
bit.
platforms,
Yeah.
obviously. All right, just a thought there. Okay, we'll get into so he could be a value. Look at us. It's mid-season form right here, Adam. That's what we're here for. So value picks by round, just had some names here that I want to ask you if you think they're a value depending on where they're going. Jacoby Myers. What are your thoughts? We were just talking, we just had a full segment, talking about maybe not necessarily the wide receiver too, but when we look at Jacoby Myers, we know what Brock Bowers is going to bring to this team. You've got Geno Smith over there, you've got Pete Carroll, new regime coming in. But Jacoby Myers feels like almost maybe could be, our Tyler Lockett, where sometimes he's just undervalued and he's always outperforming where he's going in drafts. Right now, he actually moved up since I looked last. He's going in the 6th round right now. So that leaves him around wide receivers like Jerry Jeudy, Debo Samuel, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, Chris Olave. He's got an ADP of 75 on Underdog. What do you think? A value or not necessarily?
I don't think so, especially round 6. I don't think so. He's not someone that I've been clicking on. I know he's given pretty good stats the last couple years, but I think the offense could change a little bit. You got Ashton Genty coming in. He's going to command a huge workload. He's going to be
Mhm.
involved in the passing game. Brock Bowers has to get his. We've heard good things about Dante Thornton. He's had a good camp. So, I mean, yeah, he should be the number 2 target there, but uh, I don't know. He's not going to score a lot of touchdowns, so he's
Yeah.
more appealing in PPR formats, but it's just not someone that I tend to draft.
Yeah, he's actually a little bit more expensive than what I had originally written down for him. So projections wise, I mean, he's still projected for a ton of targets though, 120 targets. And then when I look at Brock Bowers, because obviously, he's projected for 129. Um, I've taken him. I will say I've taken him, so I don't mind it. Value is probably not the right word because, like you said, going in the 6th round for a lot of those guys isn't necessarily a value. He's going pick 99 on ESPN, 85 on Sleeper, and then 114 on Yahoo. But I don't know when I look at the targets at him, it feels like he could outperform that ADP where he's going right now. We've seen him do it almost every single year.
He has. I mean, but some of the other receivers you mentioned are kind of more appealing in that spot.
Okay. Oh, Jerry
That's
Judy,
basically what it is.
Debo. Addison,
Yeah,
Juwan Jennings. I do
yeah.
like Juwan Jennings in that spot. He's pulled away a little bit from Ricky Pearsall.
Which is a little surprising in a way
Would you rather
because
with
Jennings dealing with that calf injury, right?
yeah, and the contract talks.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't seem there's anything to that though. He is in camp, so
That's true. He didn't hold out, but I will hand up. I've taken way more Juwan Jennings than Ricky Pearsall.
I'll take both. I mean, especially
Okay.
what they're priced at, and if you expect this 49ers offense to be good, and we've talked about how they have one of the easiest schedules, both are cheap wide receivers. Yeah, I mean, we know Kittle is pricier now and he's moving up, but there's an opportunity for both those guys to succeed. So I'll draft both.
Yeah, the targets are right there. 100 target projection for Juwan Jennings, 71 for Ricky Pearsall. Brandon Ayuk, are you still, so I look at Brandon Ayuk and I'm just assuming, and again, could be wrong on this, but I feel like you and I are both on the same page that we're expecting him to start the year on pup. it just feels like that's where it's going, where you miss the first 4 games and you come back. Obviously, guys coming back from the injury, especially that he had last season, had to wait a little while to get the surgery done. Maybe he could be someone, Brandon Ayuk, down the stretch, Adam, where you take him, you put him, if you have an IR spot, obviously you're not taking much risk there because you're able to put him in that IR spot and wait until he's better to get back. And then he goes down the stretch and helps you during the fantasy playoffs. But I just, this is one of the seasons, this is probably the least amount. And I stopped taking him obviously like a month and a half ago. I've just not been going back.
Like you said, it's easier to take them if you have IR spots, a few IR spots, and you get some value. You could just put them in there. If you don't, it's a little bit more difficult because assuming he misses like 4 games, and again, we don't know at this point. There were reports saying that he could be ready week 1. Other reports say he's going to miss the start of the season. So we don't have that clarity right now. And with that, it just makes it a little bit more difficult for me to draft him because you're going to have other issues
Yeah.
early in the season with injuries. And then he's on your bench. You got a couple other guys hurt, and it just makes things even more difficult. And Ayuk wasn't even good last year when he played. I know it was only about 7 games, but he was not good. Like, that's the worst he's looked in a while. He really had a lot of bad games. And now he's
Yeah,
coming
no,
off
you're
an
right.
injury, ACL, MCL. So I think there's some concern there.
Yeah, there definitely is. Again, he's going to be the most expensive on Underdog, going at pick 96, which puts him in the eighth round range, towards the end of the eighth round. If you're looking elsewhere, they're
Also,
160.
different format in best ball
Different
too.
format,
Yeah.
because you don't have to, it's drafting them and forget them. You never will have to. I can see it now, people calling in if Brandon Ayuk is back and just, wondering week in and week out. But 161 on Underdog, 95 on Sleeper, 126 over there on Yahoo for ADPs. But yeah, he could be difficult to, if it's the start of the season, getting back into game shape and just being ready for that. Something to keep an eye on. All right, we're going to continue on. I've got two more names for value picks by round. See if we're in or out on them. We're going to do that coming up next. As always, love hanging out with you guys here on this Wednesday at K Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. If you have any questions, we are definitely going to get to your phone calls as well. We've got the water cooler coming up here. It's a great day, Adam. It's a great day to get ready for drafts. It is an even better day to talk about some value picks by round. So, want to continue on with this conversation because I just want to know Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and I'm not letting you say neither. You have to pick one, even if you don't like it. Do you think either of them? Because obviously, we talk about Malik Neighbors a lot. We've talked about Cam Scattaboo. I want to make sure we're going down these depth charts and seeing if there are any value picks from any of these guys. So, Wan'Dale Robinson is the more expensive pick going in the 15th round on Underdog, and then Slayton's going in the 17th round. Do you think either of them are good, viable options? Maybe not good, but viable options for fantasy football depth pieces.
I feel like there's better players to get. Look, with Wan'Dale
Okay.
Robinson, we know in PPR formats, there could be weeks where he has good games, but the problem is it doesn't translate into yards. It doesn't translate into touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure most people have the Giants projected to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL once again, like they are
True.
every single year. So yeah, maybe they're a little bit better, but like how much better can they be? So yeah, Robinson is the guy that frustrates people that hate PPR. That like,
Yeah.
okay, look at the last game he had last year. I don't know if you're looking at it or remember. He had 11 targets, 10 catches for 43 yards. Okay? So I like PPR. I've played in it pretty much for a long time. Most of my leagues are full point PPR. But if you're opposed to it, then the epitome and the poster boy is Wan'Dale Robinson because 10 for 43 and 11 targets. Then he had another game, 14 targets, 11 catches for 71 yards. So, yeah, he's one of those guys where just dump it off, catch it, get tackled. So,
He had 93 catches.
93
He
passes.
had
Like, if
140 targets in that offense.
I guarantee you, like, if you just quizzed most people, they wouldn't come close to getting that
Oh, I
right. And then
wouldn't.
and then when you tell them, what? 140 targets, 93 receptions? No way. Yes, that is what happened. So,
Yes, way.
yeah, I haven't drafted him anywhere at all. I mean, Yeah, I haven't.
Okay, so no value. I was trying to pressure you. It wasn't nice. We could just say no for either of them. Still
Slayton, they
projected for the targets though. I mean, even Slayton's projected for 73 targets, 96 from Waddell and
yeah, they paid Slayton
162
too.
for Malik Neighbors. Insane. All right, you can say Slayton. I'm gonna make
No,
you say one of them. Okay.
nah, I'm not gonna do it.
Just say neither and move on. I mean,
Yeah,
15th round, once we
yeah.
get into
There's,
these rounds, it's,
I know that,
yeah.
but there's still better players in that round.
Adam
Those
Thielen?
rounds. No, not
Okay.
Thielen. I'm looking for a player that
Jalen
has a pretty.
McMillan?
Yeah, I'd rather take McMillan
Okay.
for sure. I mean, if Godwin's
We
not
talked
ready to
about
start the year,
Alec Pierce. Dante Thornton is going in the
yeah, I'd
16th
take
round.
Thornton. At least, there's a potential for a higher ceiling with him. I mean, he could
You
be
know me with
nothing.
Jalen. I've taken Jalen Noel in that 16th
Yeah, I
round
mean, I'd take
more
those
times than not.
guys.
Jalen Royals for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
if Rice is suspended, Hollywood Brown's already banged up, absolutely, I'll take him. And that Chiefs offense, for sure.
I think it's always tougher when we talk about, some values in these later rounds because the later round values that we usually target are running backs.
Yes,
So when you
true.
get into these
Hmm.
ranges of like 15th, 16th, 17th round, that's why, I'll throw random names at you because I'm with you. I also haven't taken any. I actually looked at my exposure, Darius Slayton or anyone else for that matter, Wandale Robinson, because we're looking at the Woody Markses, we're looking at the Brashard Smith, DJ Giddens, Marshawn Lloyd's, and saying we'd rather go that direction. So again, there are some values to be found. We're going to continue looking for them. We're going to do that in the water cooler news and notes here coming up next and your phone calls. You know what time it is. Time for the Fantasy Life Water Cooler right here, going through all the pieces of news that you might have missed here in the first hour, taking all of your phone calls and getting you ready for draft season, just like fantasylife.com is. Make sure you head over to the website. Always going to point you in that direction because not only do we have 100% free articles, but we've got great upgraded tools for you. So we've got Fantasy HQ. Make sure you go in and sync your leagues. We've got all of our rankings updated every single day and all the tools that we use during the show. We've got projections, the ADP draft board. And if you need some help, you got Draft Champion over there with the mock draft simulator. And during the season, waiver wire, start, sit, keepers, trade analyzer, everything you need to continue dominating and winning every single one of your leagues. So we appreciate it. Head over to fantasylife.com. Make sure you use that code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus subscription. All right, Adam, you ready to go? By the way, you want to know what my mom just texted me? She knows
Oh,
she knows
no.
what I'm
What
doing.
happened?
She knows that I'm on the air. She goes, Folger's on a digital deal at Kroger. Got to get the digital deal. It's on sale, folks. I just had to let you know.
Well, coffee
She
is
listens every
pricey
day.
these days, so you got to
You know
take
what?
advantage of those
Coffee
sales.
is expensive.
Did Folgers
Please.
go up too?
I mean, it's not necessarily cheap, but I like to get I like to try and buy in bulk as much as I can so that I don't have to think about it.
So you don't have to leave the house for another month. That's
Well,
what it is.
I try not to buy, go out and buy coffees every day. You buy coffee every day?
What do you mean, do I buy it every
Out,
day?
you walk outside and buy a
Oh,
coffee?
no, not as
Oh,
much as I
okay.
used to, but I do occasionally because I like different coffees, like different places, drinking the
Okay.
same
Got
coffee
it.
every
Got it.
day. Nah, so like you drink Folgers every day?
Wow, bougie. Yeah, every
Oh,
day.
like
It's the same routine.
I would get tired of the same coffee, I think. I want to mix it up.
Anytime. It's just it's a drip coffee.
Nah, I
Wow.
like different coffees, like from different
Oh,
places.
he's got money. All right,
I didn't
that's
say
good.
that.
It's good to know, everyone. Take a note down. But yeah, just to let you know, thanks, mom, for texting during the show. She listens every day, so she
Hi, Mom.
knows what she's doing. We've got the water cooler here. So let me just make sure the news that we hit at the top of the first hour here. Isaiah Likely is looking like he's got a foot injury, so he'll miss about 6 weeks per Ian Rappaport. The Bengals did release Zack Moss, so it is obviously still has been, always will be Chase Brown season. But Taj Brooks is someone that we talked about as a late round flyer. If you want, maybe next man up, Samaje Perine is there as well, but we like Taj Brooks way more than that. Michael Pittman Jr. dealing with a groin issue, but as Adam said, it's looking like Anthony Richardson is gaining ground and could possibly pass Daniel Jones in that quarterback competition. And then there is still no timeline for Najee Harris to return. So, what we say, the 13th round or something? We're comfortable drafting him? It's not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I
We have
wonder.
we have such a lack of information on some of these situations right now. Quinshon Judkins being another one where he's got to
Yeah,
drop.
I saw something. I do have something here from Judkins where the Browns owner said he was, quote, cautiously optimistic that Quinshon Judkins would play for the Browns in 2025.
That
What are
doesn't
we
sound
doing?
encouraging at all.
No, I know.
And there's
I'm
no contract signed. I mean,
No,
uh,
you're not excited by this update with Quinshon Judkins. He's still, like you said, he still remains unsigned. We're waiting for a court date for his arrest, and you've got Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson. I guess that's going to be the committee until he's signed. If he's, I think it's a huge if question. You might be drafting someone that gets you zeros for the whole season
yeah,
potentially.
I think at this point you just have to cross them off your board, right?
I
Don't you think
haven't
so?
taken. Oh yeah, I haven't taken. I don't want to take the risk. I just don't want to do it. If you're looking for someone, like we've talked about with Quinshon Judkins, he was going more so with the RJ Harveys, Travion Hendersons of the world. If we're talking about rookie running backs, obviously those guys are going way earlier now. Quinshon Judkins pushed to the 10th round on Underdog, and he's gonna I don't think there's a round where I'm going to look at him unless we get clear information that he is going to play in 2025. I don't think there's a round that he could go to, Adam, where I would say, all right, I'll stop the fall and I'll take him. I just think it's too risky.
He's a rookie. He has a legal issue. He's not signed. He's not in camp with the team. Like, this doesn't bode well at all. And then you hear that, cautiously optimistic. What?
I'm going to start using that line.
Oh
I'm
my
cautiously
goodness.
optimistic that I'm going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. every chance. I'm cautiously optimistic that Kyler Murray won't hurt my feelings this year. It'll be great. I'm saying no. I just can't. And I know your thoughts on Jerome Ford, but does this situation not make you want to split a little bit some of your drafts for as many drafts? If we're talking to people listening right now that do more than, let's say, 3 drafts, 5 drafts, even, between Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford, do you want to have a clean split between the two of them, or do you think that it will be Dylan Sampson stepping up in this offense?
I want mostly Dylan Sampson. They
All right.
they did draft him. I know they drafted him after Junkins, but I prefer him. It is still the Browns running game though, so let's not
That's
go
true.
crazy. But
Maybe
yeah,
we should just say no.
no,
Maybe
I
the answer
think
is no for all of
I'm
them.
definitely open to Sampson, and the price is increasing, so just keep that in mind. But I think
I
he's going to play a big role.
All right. It's just this whole team. What are we doing? The whole offense is just really a big question mark. But yeah, for Quinshon Judkins again, we really have no update. Jerome Ford is the technical RB2, but like you said, you can see Dylan Sampson passing him on the depth charts. Day two talent, going into the NFL draft, or thought to be day two talent. So you look at him and say, all right, maybe he's able to step up. I'm looking at, we don't have updated splits because I think we're just waiting for what that could look like for Quinshon Judkins. So we'll just have to, it's a fluid situation. We'll see if anything changes over the next couple of weeks. Continuing on here for the water cooler, and again, the phone number to call in, 888-963-2682, or you can press the new call in button on the Sirius XM app, so we see your phone calls on hold. We are absolutely going to get to you. Just another update with Luther Burden. Ben Johnson did say that he is a little bit behind right now. He did practice for the first time in training camp on Monday. And obviously when that happens, when you're, not practicing or around the team for the first start of training camp, you're going to be a little bit behind. So head coach Ben Johnson said, when they were at walkthrough yesterday afternoon, and it's misalignments, you have to rehuddle, all this stuff. I think my big question to you, Adam, though, is out of everyone in this offense, who are you drafting the most? Because actually, I looked and I thought I was drafting a little bit more Roma Dunze again this season, but I haven't been. I've actually been taking a little bit more Colston Loveland in the range that he's going right now. Who's your most drafted when we're looking at just the receiving options?
Yeah, I think it's Odunze and Loveland. I do like the price on Loveland as well.
I do too.
I understand that there's we're not sure how the ball is going to be distributed in this offense. There are a lot of capable players, but clearly Ben Johnson is enamored with Loveland to take him that early in the first round. We've seen it with these tight ends. Usually you're going to have big plans for them. And we've been seeing it in camp. I'm not worried about Cole Kmet. He was there before Ben Johnson got there. I think Loveland fits the mold of what Ben Johnson wants to do. We saw what Sam Laporta did in his rookie year, and I'm not saying Loveland's going to have that type of situation. It's different, but I will take Loveland and then likely pair him with another tight end and hope that Loveland does emerge as someone that I could count on a weekly basis.
I've done the same thing. I've taken more Loveland as the weeks have gone on, and if people think that that's a risk, then I guess that that's a risk worth taking, in my opinion, because you look at him and just one of 6 tight ends to earn top 10 draft capital since the year 2000, Adam. And you say to yourself, like you said, we look at draft capital, we look at what Ben Johnson could do with Colston Loveland in this offense, and his talent profile alone feels like someone that's worth betting on. And if it doesn't work out, yes, I'm making sure to grab obviously a second tight end, and probably will have to stream the rest of the season if it really doesn't work out like that. But I just really like him. I like the history that we've seen with Ben Johnson, with Sam Laporta. And I look at Cole Kmet, and I know people say, hey, Cole Kmet, they gave him a 4-year, $50 million extension for a reason. He's obviously still going to be there, but yeah, I can't stop drafting Colston Loveland, and I like the potential there. It's just, one of those guys. And then Roma Dunze for me, and then DeAndre Swift, and then Luther Burden. Luther Burden's probably the guy I have least on this offense.
Yeah, and as you alluded to in the report, he is behind, so it could take some time. Again, one of those rookies where if you are drafting him, probably not going to get much from him early, and he'll just sit on your bench, and you'll see how the offense progresses and where he is involved.
DJ Moore? You back? You good? I'm kind of done. I'm kind of over the, he's upset about the offense, and we got some of those reports a few weeks ago. But I'm looking at DJ Moore again. You're paying a high price for him, as you have been with this offense, and feels like everyone in this offense is just a little bit more
Hmm.
expensive. But he's going in the 4th round. There's a really good range of receivers going in that round, though. So you've got Moore, you've got Xavier Worthy, you've got Tedero McMillan, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Jameson Williams, George Pickens. Have you been taking him?
Yeah, the thing is, I like a lot of those guys a little bit better. So, like, Moore is so interesting because we've seen him put up numbers. There's also reports coming out that they're getting him some work in the backfield and getting the ball on.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So, um, we'll see if that plays out into the season. But Ben Johnson says he's exploring different ways to get DJ Moore the ball. So that's what I'm still kind of intrigued. I've always been a big DJ Moore fan and draft him. I did take him in a recent draft. I think a lot of those receivers were gone. So I am open to taking him, but it's just what's his role going to be in this offense? Are we going to see, a Dunze takeaway and you got Loveland? So that's the only
Hmm.
thing. But if this offense is as good as many of us think, I guess there's still a way for Moore to be pretty valuable in fantasy.
One more should, in my opinion, if they are really, if this offense is as good as they are going to be, then DJ Moore, I think, is going to be the one that produces, and then it's everyone else. I just can't see a world with DJ Moore, because I'm with you. I've liked DJ Moore. Didn't necessarily take him as much as I thought I did last season, but last year too, with his entire season, we were always talking about, like, Aldrin and the gadgety usage that he had with DJ Moore, and how much that didn't help. And it was just a weird offense as a whole. The chemistry wasn't there, and it just felt like last season was a little bit of a wash, because it just nothing went right for that team necessarily. So with DJ Moore, I feel like he will be the focal point of this offense, and then it's everyone else around him.
I think remember they a lot of short passes last year
Mhm.
too. He did have 588 yards after the catch. That was third most in the NFL. So if they can open up the deep ball a little bit and get him the ball deep, I mean that's really gonna help DJ Moore. So yeah, it's just trying to figure out this offense if Caleb Williams steps up. So like DJ Moore, I will take like as my wide receiver 3. I think
Okay,
you can get
yeah,
him.
that's a
Yeah, you
good range.
said
I mean,
round
it's a good,
4.
yeah,
Yeah,
round 4. It's a good range.
I don't. I had him ranked higher last year, so I just have a little more questions with the way this offense is going to be this year. So I'm not saying he's a target or an avoid. If he just falls in my rankings in the right spot when I'm on the
Mhm.
board, I will take him.
Something I've thought about too, and I've made myself, look and say, okay, if this offense is as good as we're hoping that they can be, right? DJ Moore gets 120 targets, but that's also thinking that everyone is going to take a step forward. What if Roma Dunze really just doesn't do it, and he isn't that guy that can take that step forward? And we think that he's going to be another focal point of this offense, but what if it doesn't happen, and then it's just a little bit more DJ Moore? I think a lot of people are expecting, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, like everyone to be good in this offense. And more times than not, one of them is not going to
Oh
really
yeah.
step up. So, if it's one of the receivers being, Roma Dunze, we've already, been a little bit cautious with Luther Burden, then, a little bit more for DJ Moore. Like I said, 120 targets, though. You're looking at 78 projected receptions, just under 1,000 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, look, the yards per reception really dropped last year, 14.2 to 9.9. So if he can rediscover getting the ball a little bit deep and having more of those big plays, I think that will really help him. It's just the offense wasn't that way last year. So yeah, Moore is a very intriguing player.
We just need Caleb Williams at the
Yeah,
very
that's
at
the
the
other
very
factor. Caleb
front.
Williams needs to be
Caleb
good.
Williams, we're banking a lot on Ben Johnson bringing the offense over and it looking good. But if it starts with him, obviously, and Caleb Williams. So if that doesn't work out, then we're kind of all screwed a little bit based on where we're drafting all these guys. It's gonna be fine. Nothing bad. What could go wrong, Adam?
Yeah, that's one of the keys. This offense, is it gonna pan out? Because people are expecting it will. I mean, you're seeing Caleb Williams, depending on the draft. Sometimes he goes, top 12.
Oh yeah.
People are hoping for a breakout season. Moore is still the guy that gets drafted the highest, but you got Odunze, Loveland. So yeah, there's a pretty high expectations for this offense.
I can't think of an offense that could really mess up drafters more than the Bears this season. There's a few,
The
but
Bengals.
okay, no, don't put that out there. What are we doing if we're
I'm
just going to
saying
name
it.
some of the what? Now you're next you're
Because
going
they're
to say the
drafted. They're all
Eagles?
drafted early. You got
Stop. What are
Chase,
you doing?
Higgins, Chase,
Why would you put
Chase
that out
Brown,
there? Okay,
and
well, we know they're not going to do
Burrow
that.
all early. Well, you just said like that would ruin fantasy.
Well,
You
what
know
are
how
you
many
going to say
people?
next?
You know how
What are
many
you going to
people
say
have done?
next? The Eagles?
No,
Not the same.
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit. No, we're not putting that out there. Let me just give you one stat, though, Caleb Williams. Only Will Levis had a
Oh
higher
no,
pressure to sack rate than Williams in 2024.
a lot of the sacks were on Williams though. He
They
holds the
were.
ball too long.
No,
Like
they were. I just
you
wanted
look.
to say Will Levis in a
Yeah,
sentence.
I know.
Threw that in
Thanks.
there.
I'm done with it. Did you see that picture of his shoulder?
Yes,
Oh my
that was
goodness.
crazy. He said what did he say, last day with this thing? And I was looking and I was like, what is that? And it looked, yeah, brutal. He'll be back. This won't be the last time we talk about Will Levis.
Yeah, he's
We'll
on
be
that
excited about it.
Geno Smith path, right? Like in 5 to
5
7
years.
years, we'll be like,
We'll say who has the ability to have a Geno Smith type turnaround, a Sam Darnold. It'll be him. I can't wait for that day. All right. FantasyLife.com. That's where you want to go. Check out all of the team previews. We're going to be talking about the Ravens today, and check out all of those upgraded tools and use that code SXM20. Gets you 20% off. Let's head out to the phone lines now, though. Let's start with Eddie in Virginia. Eddie, what do you got for us?
Hey, yeah, I've got a keeper auction league. It's a 12-teamer single quarterback, non-PPR. And currently my keepers were going to be Jonathan Taylor, T. Higgins, Metcalf, and Lad McConkey. And after that, I would have about $100 left to spend at the auction.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a guy that's offering me 40 auction dollars for Lad McConkey. And so I could plug in, if I took the $40, I could plug in Jared Goff at $1 and then have $140 to spend and have Goff instead of Lad McConkey.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of that? And I'm a little bit nervous about Ladd in this non-PPR format because of his it's a touchdown-heavy league. So
Okay. All right. No, that's a really good question, Eddie. I appreciate it. Adam, you've talked about auction before. What would you do in this situation? So 12 team, one quarterback, non PPR, got JT, you've got T. Higgins, you've got Metcalf, Lad, someone offering you 40 auction dollars for Lad McConkey. Are you taking that offer?
I don't think I am. McConkey did score 7 touchdowns last year, so it's not like he didn't score. My biggest concern with McConkey is health. I mean, he's already dealing with something. I think they didn't disclose it, right? They just said general soreness or something.
General soreness is, yeah,
Yeah.
let me check again.
But
go
he's
ahead.
had injury issues in college. So that's the thing with him. But you can get quarterbacks cheap anyway. If you don't land the elite quarterbacks, there's plenty of guys that you can get for very cheap. And I mean, Goff at $1, yeah, fine. But we've talked about Goff. It's just you're going to get inconsistency. You're going to get big spike weeks and then down weeks, and he doesn't run. So, no, I think I would keep McConkey at 40.
Yeah, he's working through something minor, is what the quote is.
Yeah, everything's minor this time of year until it turns to surgery.
Stop. He's not practicing. Get out of here. He's not practicing this week. Won't suit up for tomorrow's Hall of Fame. We've got football tomorrow, Adam. That's going to be so fun. Won't suit up tomorrow. But yeah, working through something minor. His absence is more precautionary than concerning.
Yeah, and look, a lot of teams are going to be very cautious here. We're still, August 1st on Friday, okay? Yeah. So it's still early. You'd rather these guys sit it out, don't let it get worse. So if there's any time for guys to be banged up, it is now. It's better than the start of the season in week 1. But people panic to every bit of news they see and automatically react. So I wouldn't worry too much about many of them right now. It's the guys who are already injured, coming off surgery. They are more of a concern because
there's Chris Godwin.
Yeah, there's always setbacks with these guys. I mean, like Chris Godwin thing is, but yet the team went out and paid him, and then New England was interested. So, but again, things can go wrong. You could recover slowly. You just got to keep that in mind. And it could open up a buying opportunity for Godwin, too, depending on how far he falls.
Absolutely. Appreciate you calling in, Eddie. Let's get through one more here. Let's go to Rashard from Michigan. What do you got for us?
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you doing?
All right. I just have a question about the third round. I already know what pick I got, second pick in this draft, 12-team half PPR. I'm wondering, should I take one of those quarterbacks like Allen or Jackson that's available, or should I go with another wide receiver, running back, and that pick in the third round?
No, it's a good question. Second pick in your draft. I think, you know what I'm going to say, Adam? I'm always someone that goes for more receivers than anything else. If you're looking at the second pick, maybe your first, the 101, maybe your league mate takes Jamar Chase, then you can get Bijan Robinson, come back around with a T. Higgins, and then in the third round, a Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, JSN is going to be there as well. So I would personally go receiver, but it's depending on your build and it's depending on what you do for those first 2 picks. But I just think there's a huge talent drop off, Adam, when we talk about receivers and the tiers that they're in. So once you get, towards the 5th or even, towards the 5th, after the 5th, you're looking at, the Jerry Judys and the Chris Olaves. So I always like to stack up elite receivers.
It comes down to your philosophy. There are a lot of people that just don't like to take those elite quarterbacks early because of the depth and build up their other positions. And I'm usually of that mindset. The only time I would consider it, if you only start, remember, some of these leagues do start only 2 running backs, 2 receiver, and 1 flex. Like in that build, I might consider it a little bit more. But in general, I'm going to pass on the quarterback. And we understand in these home leagues, some of these quarterbacks are going to go higher. We're doing a lot of drafts where they fall to round 4 sometimes. Sometimes you don't see the first quarterback off the board to round 4. So, but in home leagues, you'll see these quarterbacks get pushed up early.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking on the ESPN draft board, and at the second pick, it's Bijan Robinson then coming back in the second round. It's Bucky Irving, and then it's Jayden Daniels at that place. So something to look for. And it, like you said, it depends on how you like to draft. You always want to like your team at the end of the day, Adam. I know sometimes you don't. You're just like, whatever. I don't want to be.
Most of the time I come out of my drafts.
No, you always love your team. But, it just depends on how you want to build it. I'm not one to usually go for Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jayden Daniels.
Have you seen Josh Allen's ADP on these other sites?
Pick 20.
21.6 ESPN, 22.1 Sleeper, 20.5 on Yahoo, 16.7 on CBS.
But this is why we say we don't. we like quarterbacks that go a little bit later, that offer not, of course, not, QB1 overall upside, although you can get close with guys like we've seen before, like Baker Mayfield, picking him up off waivers. Sam Darnold had a great season last year. You got Jayden Daniels sometimes going outside the top 10, top 12 quarterbacks, or he was right at 12. So there's value to behold there when you're waiting for quarterbacks. But again, Richard, appreciate you calling in. I would go receiver, but let us know what you end up doing over there. All right, the phone number to continue calling in, 888-963-2682. The phone number. We're going to go through draft or pass here, presented by Premier National Sports. Got some names, including some rookies. If we're going to draft them up their ADP or if we're going to pass on them, we're going to go through those names coming up right after this. Time for draft or pass right here, presented by Premier National Sports. So, Adam, we go through players' current ADPs. We look at them and we say, is this good enough for me? Am I going to draft him or am I going to pass on them, depending on where they're going? And again, presented by Premier National Sports. So if someone has a high school athlete or is looking to take their game to the next level, Premier National Sports is the team to help you through that entire process. You can go to premiernationalsports.com. They help rising high school athletes take their game to the next level, hopefully like these guys and their ADPs are going to do for us in fantasy football, with personalized recruiting strategies and NIL education. So premiernationalsports.com is where you want to go. Let's start things off here, Adam. Let's go through a little Tetairoa McMillan. Pick 41 on Underdog, and that is as expensive as he's going to get. Pick 89 on ESPN, 60 on Sleeper, 83.5 on Yahoo, and on CBS, 73. What are you thinking, draft or pass with Tetairoa McMillan at this price?
I am going to draft.
Yes.
Now, the 41...
Too much for you?
Why not?
You gotta live a little.
That's fourth round, yeah.
Live a little.
I definitely like the other ADPs you mentioned.
No kidding.
But for sure, look, they needed this type of target in this offense. 6'5", the big X receiver. So I think he's going to be a matchup nightmare for many. And we did see Bryce Young emerge down the stretch last year. We want to see if that can continue into the season. But this is exactly what they needed. They really were lacking at wide receivers. So, I'm going to draft McMillan this year.
And I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? With Bryce Young, we're not expecting top 12 fantasy numbers from Bryce Young, but hopefully it is right in the middle between, from week 8 when he got his job back to the weeks prior from when he was benched. Because when he came back, everything was looking good. The fantasy points per game, he was QB 13. The yards per attempt was 6.6. Big time throw rate sitting at 7.7%, which was first in the NFL among 36 qualified quarterbacks. So I do think it's right in the middle with Bryce Young, not necessarily, if I hope that he is able to, keep on keeping on from what we saw from week 8 going through the rest of the season. But for Tetairoa McMillan, this is the prime example, Adam, of what we talk about with maybe this team isn't a sexy pick for a lot of people, and they hear the Panthers and they say there's absolutely no way I want anyone from this team. But for Tet getting 125 targets, and I think that closer to the season, I want to ask Dwayne McFarland, I want to say, can we move this up a little bit? Can we give him more targets? Because then you have, Adam Thielen, Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette. There are other guys down this depth chart, but for Ted McMillan, they took him for a reason. He's going to be peppered with those targets, and it's just the size, the talent. It's everything you would want in a receiver. Even though we just talked about, maybe pushing rookies up just a little bit, it feels like Tetairoa McMillan, for me, it's warranted because he can bring really good talent to your squad. So again, pick 90 on ESPN. I'm almost going to hit draft every single time.
Yeah,
even 83.
That's insane.
73 on CBS, where you and I are drafting in a few weeks. And if I get Tetairoa McMillan before you, I need it. I'm going to click draft.
If he's there in round 4, are you taking him?
No, not in round. It's on CBS.
You won't do it?
No. Round 4.
I need to know these things.
Because right now no. See, now I can't. This is the thing. You're going to know everything. Because what is 73? 73 puts us around 7th round, right?
Yeah, but see, this is where it's tricky because you want to look at the platform, but you also have to know who you're drafting with. And
I'm taking him in the 6th.
I don't think he makes it to round 6 in that draft.
You don't think so?
I don't. No. There's sharp people in that room. So, and I don't know how many people. See, I don't know how many people actually. So when I draft live, I actually don't look at the CBS the rankings because I'm looking at my sheet. So, which. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. No, I don't think it's a mistake.
No,
You
it's not
just
a
got to go
mistake.
with what you believe.
It's a good point to say that, ADPs are just a suggestion.
Yeah.
You do not have, if you want your guy and it's, let's say, for example, it is Tedero McMillan and he's going in the, what is that? It's the 7th round. It's the very beginning of the 7th round. And you want to take him, he's going in the 4th on underdog. So you want to take him in the 6th to make sure that he, you don't have to wait on him, even the 5th. Like, you go get your guys. It's
Yeah,
just,
even
it's
in the
just a
in
suggestion.
the NFFC over the last week, he's going 47th. So
Wow, nice.
yeah, so you have to know that you're gonna take him higher. And the thing is, too, he was drafted 8th overall. If you look at the receivers that have been drafted top 10 over the last few years, they all get at least 100 targets in their rookie year. So it's going to be there for him. And
I'm excited. I'm excited for him, honestly. He's going to be someone so fun to watch. So we're going to definitely draft Tedero McMillan in that range. Have you taken him in that spot on underdog, 4th round? There's good receivers in that. That's like when most of those receivers go. So it's Pickens, Williams, Metcalf, etc.
Yeah, I don't have a lot yet, which is why I do want to get him in a couple.
Between him and George Kittle in that range, it's fun. It's a good place to be drafting. All right, Tony Pollard. Let's go draft or pass on Tony Pollard. So he's going on underdog pick 82, and actually that is probably the least expensive place you're going to get him. CBS pick 57, Yahoo he's going to pick 66, Sleeper 73, ADP, and then ESPN actually the least expensive at 96. Also this is a good example, Adam, of how different, not only different these ADPs are, but how depending on where you draft, priorities are a lot different. Wide receivers are a priority in underdog, but we talk about, quarterbacks, running backs being pushed up the board a lot in some of these other platforms. So Tony Pollard, draft or pass, depending on the range. What are you looking at?
Yeah, that 57, I think you mentioned. No, can't do that, but more in the 70s, 80s. I'll say draft. He was good last year. The injuries played a role. And a lot of those games, he was hurt when he played. Like all week, he wasn't practicing. He would go out there, and sometimes the stats would be good. Other times, it was a problem. Tajay Spears, though, is going to be in the mix. I've taken him a lot, too, because he goes way later. So that's the only concern I have. When he played, 70% of the snaps, he was really good. But how many games are we to get of that this year? There was talk last year of mixing in Spears. So I don't mind Pollard like in the 80s as my hopefully RB3 at that point. Could be an RB2. And even if he doesn't pan out, like I'm okay with it. I've always said that if I'm going to be weak anywhere, it's RB2. So I would maybe Pollard's the initial guy that you draft in RB2. And then I'm going to have a bunch of other running backs that I take. And all I really need is one of them to emerge to be the RB2 every week. And hopefully more than them emerge. And there's the whole roster is just popping, and I'm good.
Exactly.
But realistically, that's not going to happen when you're drafting with a lot of sharp people.
No, it's almost never going to happen. But we can dream, Adam. We can pretend that it could happen. I've actually been passing on Tony Pollard in this range. I don't necessarily, I liked him a lot last season. We talked a lot about him, but actually, to your point, I've taken a lot more Tajay Spears because I just say, okay, if I want one part of this backfield, and let me say this, Pollard's season last year was impressive from what he was able to do with one of the league's worst offensive lines. I do think that was impressive. You look at the yards after contact per carry, and he was sitting there at 3.4, which was 6th among unqualified running backs. Like he did well. I just feel like this season I've really pumped the brakes on Pollard, and I've looked at Tajay Spears and said, all right, I just like this more. Tony Pollard had 301 touches total, which was the 9th most in the NFL as well. So Tajay Spears, he had to deal with the injuries, and that was basically what happened all season. But yeah, this year, just in that range, I'm not drafting Tony Pollard as much. I'm going for, other guys. Isaiah Pacheco's there. Aaron Jones is still there. Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, and that's with underdog prices. So
taking notes. So
write it down.
See,
this is why
if I
feel like you should have made a note that we can't draft in the same league. It feels illegal.
It's randomly selected, so
it doesn't feel random. Feel random.
You weren't in the league last year together. Now we are, so it's random.
It's just interesting.
But now the interesting part will be like if I'm picking 11 and you're picking 12, or vice versa.
This is where can we write a note in the in the rules that say that we can't. That always
Make
says
sure
we
that they're
can't.
not
We have to
next
be
to
on
each other.
opposite sides. You know that's going to happen, right? Guaranteed.
Don't make things interesting, and I know you will probably definitely pick someone just to spite me because you seem like that type of
Mm,
drafter.
if I like them, we like some of the same play. You know where
Yeah.
it's going to get interesting, and we're talking about the GST league that Adam and I are in. That he so graciously invited me. Ani left me, so Ani is now no longer my, co-captain here. Where it's going to get interesting is the quarterbacks. That's where I might have to be a little bit more aggressive with you because we like a lot of the same late round guys.
But that's a good thing then because that means if you take one of them or vice versa, there's probably someone else that we like there. Unless there's that
Maybe I'll take
crazy
both.
run. Oh, you
Just
just
to
take
be,
both?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
that's like
That would
last year
happen to
when
me
you were
last
waiting
year,
on
Jayden Daniels. And the team that selected Jalen Hurts took Jayden Daniels too. And this is a league with no trades, so
Yeah, I
I don't
hate that.
I don't get it.
I actually just can't do that because you would bring it up on the air and it'd just be public shame, and I can't I can't go there.
It just doesn't make sense. This is a league with two
No.
flex spots. So that round they probably could have gotten a starter and took a backup quarterback instead. And I don't know how it panned out for them all year between Daniels and Hurts. I mean, that's a tough decision to make every single week.
Yeah,
You don't want to put yourself in that spot. I don't know.
I won't do that.
Like,
Don't worry.
I don't know if they did it to say, well, we don't want anyone else to have them. I can't draft that way. I'm focused on my team. I want to build the best team for me. I'm not worried about anyone else.
Yeah, we've talked about this. The only way I look at other teams and use it to my advantage is seeing like your
Drafting on the
example.
ends.
Your example. Hey,
Yeah.
both these teams. If I'm sitting at the 10 spot and the 11th team and the 12th team already have their quarterbacks, I know I can wait, or vice versa. They don't have their running backs. I should get this running back right now because they're probably going to take him off the board.
A good
Tight
example.
ends.
Like say they have
yeah.
one team has Kittle, one team has Bowers. Okay, I'm gonna take the running back receiver here first. Let them pick. The likelihood is they don't take a second tight end. Now they could. You're playing a game of probability. So sometimes it will backfire, but that's where you want to look at what teams are doing on the ends, trying to dictate your next pick.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens during our draft. It'll be great. This is why I should have booked a trip and just gone over there, but it's fine. We'll have a lot to talk about from that GST draft. We're going to continue on though. That was draft or pass for ADPs, looking through it from Premier National Sports. Again, premiernationalsports.com. If you haven't checked them out, help rising high school athletes. They help them take their game to the next level with personalized recruiting strategies and NIL education. So premiernationalsports.com to go and check them out. Team previews, got to continue on with them. Let's talk through the Ravens and which receivers we're going for, what our expectations are for Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, maybe a little DeAndre Hopkins, Adam? We're going to talk about it next. Talking through the Baltimore Ravens right here. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Use that code SXM20. SXM20 gets you 20% off any Tier 1 or Tier 2 subscription at fantasylife.com. All of our articles 100% free, but we've got the rankings. We've got all of the tools, the projections, the ADP grid, trade analyzer, in season, the waiver wire tools, the start sits, the keepers, everything that you need to continue winning every single one of those leagues that you're going into in 2025. SXM20 for that code, 20% off. The Baltimore Ravens were pretty good last season, Adam. Minus the dropped pass from Mark Andrews. They could have maybe been
brutal.
a little bit better, but what was that? 27-25 heartbreaker in Buffalo. So that was tough. But other than that, when you're looking at it, points per game, 30.5, which was third. EPA per dropback was first. EPA per rush was second. And points per game against, 21.2, which was ninth in the NFL. So not a lot changed over the past few months either with this team when we look at it. So, which is always good to stay fluid season in, season out, especially with how well they did last year. I don't think we need to spend much time unless you're fading Lamar Jackson or he's your QB2, QB1. I don't think any of us are doing that. But the receivers, where are you going with this? How much are you drafting Zay Flowers? He always feels like an interesting one. I think we've brought him up before. But Zay Flowers in this offense, I think he's wide receiver 24 in our rankings right now. What are your expectations of him for 2025?
I will have 0 Zay Flowers. 24 to me is way too high. Here's the thing. He's a really good player, but it doesn't translate to fantasy. So Baltimore last year was the second fewest pass attempts per game Philadelphia was only worse. Lamar Jackson had 41 touchdowns last year, right? That's like a career year. Zay Flowers was 35th in points per game in PPR formats. So how is this going to change? He's not a red zone guy. So he would have to have a season where he's just breaking these long touchdowns. And can it happen a couple here or there? Yeah, but is he going to get to 8 or 9? That doesn't feel like it. He doesn't get, doesn't get the red zone targets. Look at his first 2 years in the league, 77 and 74 receptions. He got 1,000 yards last year, but 4 touchdowns. So, like, how can he get much better? Is the Ravens offense, is Lamar Jackson going to throw 50 touchdowns this year?
Yeah.
I just don't see it. So from a fantasy perspective, and that's the thing, is you look at like the Ravens and the Bills and like, oh, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson go so early. They must have so many great fantasy weapons. And it's just not the case. So really like Flowers as a player, but fantasy, if that was what the best he could do last year with Lamar Jackson throwing 41 touchdowns, how can he get better?
And even in the projections, like he's projected for a fantasy five touchdowns, right? With 170 fantasy points. That's wide receiver 29.
Yeah,
Total. And so it's tough with an offense that we look at and we say, all right, this is one of the league's more run heavy offenses. You look at the top scoring Ravens wide receivers in PPR points per game, Adam, by the way, and it's never like it's not been good. You said 35 for Flowers last season. I think Bateman was 48. And then 2023, Flowers was still, wide receiver 31. OBJ was wide receiver 64. It's just never like really come together like that. Brown, I think, was the next best one. And I think he finished wide receiver 23 in 2021. So, it's boomer bust qualities for Rashad Bateman if we go down the list, but for Zay Flowers and the price that you're paying, yeah, he's a little bit expensive for me as well.
Yeah, I can't do it at wide receiver 24. I just think there's receivers in that area that have higher ceilings, and people might go, well, he's the one in his offense. Yeah, but he's
been the one in this offense.
Yeah, the targets are not a typical one. Again, they just run the ball so much. I mean, that's what's crazy last year with Lamar Jackson and his efficiency. They averaged 27 and a half pass attempts per game. And he had 41 touchdowns and 1 off. So, and you still got Derrick Henry there. So, again, Flowers it's fine, but I'd rather in that area, I'm looking for someone that could just finish higher than where he can go. Like, I want someone that potentially could be top 20, top 15. And I don't see it with Flowers. I just don't.
Rome Odunze goes in that range. Devontae Smith goes in that range. Calvin Ridley, who we like, not necessarily to say Calvin Ridley's, top 10, top 15
I would take Ridley over him.
Yeah, I have been straight up taking Ridley over him as well. Cortland Sutton is in that range as well, who just got paid.
Over him.
I just look at it and I agree to you. I know I've taken him in some drafts just in case something changes, but it hasn't been much. I think I've drafted him twice this season because it's tough to see him getting that sort of target ceiling that we look at that helps him turn into a high producing wide receiver in fantasy football. So for me, I'm on the same level. I've taken him a couple times just in case something changes or something goes crazy, but yeah, Zay Flowers, it's an interesting one to look at. Well, we're going to continue on here. Just want to talk and finish up this Ravens conversation, go through a little bit more of the ADPs coming up right after this. As always, make sure you keep it locked right here. Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. After us, you've got RotoWire Fantasy Sports Today with Jeff Erickson and Jim Coventry. Then at 2 p.m. Eastern, Elite Sports with Jeff Mans and Ray Flowers. 5 p.m. Eastern, Fantasy Footballers. 6 p.m. Eastern, Fantasy Alarm. 8 p.m. Eastern, Football Diehards. And then, of course, 10 p.m. Eastern, you've got High Stakes Fantasy Advantage. So getting you ready for all those drafts, getting you ready for all those wins in your leagues this season. Finishing up with the just Baltimore Ravens team preview here, Adam. I guess the only really other one, because we don't need to go through Lamar Jackson. We know how good that he's going to be this year. We don't necessarily need to go through how good Derrick Henry's going to be. I guess it's really just Mark Andrews. And I've come to the conclusion, Adam, it's just too expensive for me. I don't like it necessarily. 8th round. I haven't been clicking his name as often as I thought I would this year. Just doesn't fit the teams that I'm building.
I think for some people, they just don't like to go in that area of tight ends. I mean, Andrews obviously is dependent on touchdowns. He had 11 last year. So I don't think we can count on that
high,
again.
I think.
Yeah. And again, with Lamar throwing 41. Now, he's a guy that Lamar does look for in the red zone. You got to throw away the beginning of the season for him. Number one, he was coming off the tightrope surgery. Then he had the car accident in August, so it was a really slow start. But you look from week 9 on, 18.1% target share, 48 receiving yards per game, and he was tight end in 5 in fantasy points per game. But again, the landscape is pretty bad, so he is dependent on those touchdowns. And we've mentioned Isaiah Likely in the picture as well, even though as of right now, dealing with this foot injury, and they expect him to be ready week 1. Could be longer than that. That will help Andrews those weeks that Likely isn't there, because he'll be running more routes, be on the field a little bit more, but we can't count out for the whole year. So, yeah, I think Andrews is, for some people, they're just like not interested. I would consider in round 9, I would consider him in that spot.
Yeah, and it's not to say that I think that he's washed or anything like that. That's not
That's
the
what it
case
sounds
at all.
like to me,
No,
but I'm just,
Adam,
just hearing what
I don't think that's how I don't think
okay.
that's how I said it. But but really, I mean, he's gonna be 30. When's his birthday? When's his birthday?
Oh boy, I just remembered it. I sent him a card the other
Yeah,
day.
I know. You texted him September 6th.
Yeah, see, that's why I was preparing for it.
Oh my gosh, that scared me. But all that to say, I don't think necessarily he's washed. Career high 11 touchdowns, though, worked as the tight end 8 in PPR points per game. I just don't. I'll know exactly where you're not drafting him. Let me tell you, you're not drafting him on Yahoo at pick 64.
No, thank you.
Absolutely not. CBS pick 65. I hope you take him there.
No, I will not.
Because we're drafting on that platform together. Pick 82 on Sleeper, pick 82 on ESPN. All more expensive than the pick 106 on Underdog.
Yeah, 106 definitely more appealing. But again, it's all about the platform, and receivers get pushed up there, so tight ends are going to drop a little.
That bell really did scare me. I jumped a little. If you're watching us on YouTube, wherever we are, no, you didn't see that. It's totally fine.
Oh, we did.
Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. fantasylife.com. That's where you can go subscribe to that newsletter. Use that code SXM20, 20% off. We'll see you same time tomorrow.